So, we're really looking forward. We're starting our Carrick 850 Summer Lecture Series in Wexford Town Library with Emmett Stafford on June the 6th. It's really exciting. Emmett's a great talker, but for me, all I want to know is when the Normans arrived, were the native Wexfordians cooking rissoles in medieval Wexford?
Rissoles were not a major feature of medieval Wexford, largely because the prime ingredient, the humble potato, had not been discovered yet. It's a South American tuber. But I'm sure something similar would have been available in the takeaway shops on South Main Street.
Okay, so we know the Normans didn't come here for the rissoles 850 years ago. But what were the people of Wexford eating? Let's ask Emmett.
Bread. Bread was very important. Oaten bread, wheaten bread. In fact, that's where the term the upper crust is alleged to come from, because the upper class people were wealthy enough to be able to afford to eat the fluffier upper crust of nice medieval bread. But they were also big into cabbages, and they would have had a house, street fronting, and those long narrow gardens that we're quite familiar with in these older Irish towns. They're the original medieval plots of land which would have had a cow, maybe a few hens, no turkeys because they're also American, and roots growing, and as well as that, workshops. So you'd have cobblers, smiths, jewelers, basket weavers, all of those people working in their own homes or behind their own homes and then selling their goods on the main street.
I'm sure you've all noticed, due to my lovely accent, that I am from Wexford Town and grew up in one of those houses with one of those nice long gardens. So it's great to hear maybe the history behind that. But I wonder what else in the town has changed in the last 850 years, if anything at all.
Main Street Wexford is one of the most walked thoroughfares of any town in modern Ireland. And that sinuous, winding street pattern that we all know so well is a medieval street pattern. Before the arrival of the Anglo-Normans in the 12th century, from the bottom end of the town up to the top of South Main Street was about the limit of the main street. After the arrival of the Anglo-Normans, the town was expanded out towards Selsker, so North Main Street was added. In both cases, the reason that Main Street in Wexford winds the way it does is that it was originally the shoreline, and the houses and shops were just on the landward side of the street, and the sea washed against the other side of the street.
Last weekend when I was walking up the quay in Wexford, the big talk on the quay was all about the local elections. It got me thinking, what were the local elections like 850 years ago? Could the people then vote for their leaders?
The Hiberno Norse did have a role in selecting their leaders. After the arrival of the Anglo-Normans, the rulers of the town were awarded that position, and politics as we know it today completely disappeared.
No politics, imagine that, the bliss of it all. But let's face it, when the Normans came here, there was money involved, there was land involved, there was marriage involved, there was a lot of politics, Emmett.
For a start, the reason the Anglo-Normans come in the first place is Dermot MacMurrough, the ancestral king of Wexford, Kinshellig as this area was known at the time, and the sometime ruler of the province of Leinster. He had lost his throne largely because he'd fallen out with another traditional Irish ruler to the north, a man named Tiernan O'Rourke. So he lost his leadership of Wexford and Leinster, and he went abroad to seek the aid of Anglo-Normans to come and, by dint of swordcraft, take back his kingdom. But even the Anglo-Normans fell out with themselves when they arrived here, because the first leader to arrive was a man named Robert Fitzstephen. He was not always very popular with the next man and more significant ruler to come along, Strongbow, the Earl of Pembroke. And the Earl of Pembroke was, of course, chased to Ireland by Henry II, the King of England and the head of the Angevin Empire at the time, because he didn't want Strongbow to take over as a king in Ireland. So politics, as always, though there may not have been a direct democracy, politics was a big issue in medieval Ireland.
So, thinking about my ancestors in Wexford 850 years ago and my plot of cabbages that I'm growing now, why should I leave them on June the 6th and head in to see Emmett in the library?
Oh, really? So that they could see what they have in common with the people who weeded their own cabbages in medieval Wexford. Our culture, our society is a product of our history, and a discussion of the history and archaeology of the town and county of Wexford is really a discussion of our own past.
When we started the Carrick project here in the park in the winter of 2018, we never knew where we were going to go with it. Now we're celebrating the 850th anniversary of the Normans landing, and Emmett Stafford is kicking it off on June the 6th in Wexford Library. Come along, you'll be surprised what you're going to learn.